Hi everyone, I'm Swati from India Hikes and you're watching Trek with Swati. I'm glad you tuned in today because we're discussing a very important topic, something that surely has crossed your mind over the past few weeks. We're talking about when we can restart trekking in the Himalayas. As you may know, we're in the middle of July and a lot of states including Uttarakhand, Himachal, Kashmir, they've all opened up their borders for tourism. And there are lots of restrictions, but they have given the signal that trekkers and tourists can start coming in now. Now, given this, lots of trekkers have started writing to us asking when we can restart trekking and whether we are going to open up treks very soon. But the question is unfortunately not as straightforward as that, because at India Hikes we are constantly thinking about safety, and every single decision of ours is based on safety as a topmost concern. So to discuss that in detail, I have with us Arjun Majumdar, the founder of India Hikes. With him, we're going to deep dive a bit into this topic, and by the end of the video, we're going to arrive at when it's going to be safe to start trekking the Himalayas again. So how have you been of late?
So we have largely been okay, Swati, but as you know, since middle of March, we have stopped treks. We have also been working from home in our various roles. For a brief period, though, we came alive to our office to start working from office, but then ever since we saw infections rising in our city, we have gone back to working from home.
I think this is precisely the reason why so many people are, itching to go back to the mountains, because we've all been cooped up at home for a long time. So that brings me, Arjun, to this topic. Now, as you also know, that Himachal, Uttarakhand, Kashmir, they've all opened up for tourism. And recently, even Indian Mountaineering Foundation, they put out a set of guidelines for trekking as well in the Himalayas. Now, what are we to make of this?
Actually, I think it's a very good step forward by the state governments, basically to give a very strong signal to people that it is be normal. COVID or coronavirus is here with us and we must be making it part of our lives. But having said that, you cannot take away the fear around this virus because it's a very unknown disease. Humankind, mankind has not dealt with it before. And we can see that there's a lot of deaths around it and we don't know what the actual outcome is. So for treks to actually start, it is not really whether the state governments give an invitation or whether it is the IMF which lays down a guideline, but more important would be the rate of infections in our country. Unless that drops significantly, trekking cannot start in our country. Now let me tell you the current situation as I see it, say we are in the middle of July now. Most of the metro cities of our country have over 1,000 infections a day. Unless this comes down rapidly, because again, most of the trekkers who are trekking in the Himalayas are also from the metro cities. Unless this comes down rapidly, you cannot think of trekking. So the number that I think which would be more comfortable where people can actually start thinking of trekking would be round about when the infections come down to about 50 a day, 50. That's when you actually start planning for your trek. Hoping that in the next 1 month or so, the infections may come down to about 20 or 15 a day. That's when you can actually start freely going out. And I want to tell you, see, trekking is very much connected with transport. You have a plane travel to do, you have very often a train travel to do as well, and probably a bus travel. Not to mention that a common travel to the base camp. When you have so many travels and in every travel interactions, you are going to come in contact with a lot of people. There is still a lot of fear about flying. Even flying hasn't become normal in our country. It's slowly opening up, but it hasn't become normal. People are only flying because of very urgent work. The day we can fly just by buying a ticket and just going from one place to another as we were doing before, that's when you can safely say that trekking will come back.
I think that could take a while then. That actually brings me to a big worry that I have, a lot of trekkers also have, that our mountain folk, the people who live in the mountains, people we work with, their livelihoods are dependent on trekking and tourism to a very large extent. So what do you make of that? How are they going to sustain themselves right now?
That's a very good question you have asked, and it is true, Swati. I cannot deny that. The trekking plays a very big role in their livelihoods. But having said that, they are also not in a hurry for trekking to open very soon. We have a mountain folks, we have been speaking with them. It would be wrong to imagine that they want treks to start quickly. They don't. Because for them the fear of the virus is even more. Please understand, in metro cities we have a hospital every 10 kilometers. Yes, the hospitals may be overwhelmed, they may be overcrowded, you may not be getting space, but there is a hospital every 10 kilometers. In the mountains there isn't. The nearest healthcare could be 150 kilometers away in a hospital which probably has 1/5 the facilities that is there in a modern metro cities. Nobody can afford an infection in the mountains. And any contact with the outside world signals that there is a very high chance of infections. So even our mountain folks are not in a hurry, even though they are they're suffering a lot in terms of no income. But they are very clearly not in a hurry to have trekking opening up, and they would actually get very upset if we are in a hurry to open trekking up and putting them at risk. They also want to be reassured that there isn't any risk to them before we actually can think of opening up trekking as a country.
I think that makes a lot of sense, throws a very different light on this entire situation, because a lot of organizations, other trekking organizations, they've actually put up notices that they're going to start trekking as soon as August. And frankly, that has me a little worried, because yes, there are guidelines they've put together that, there will be social distancing maintained on treks, or single occupancy tents, or if a person is detected with COVID on the trek, what we're going to do, or, coming with a COVID test 72 hours before this. What do you think of this?
Swati, I'm quite aware that a lot of trekking organizations have started opening up, and they say that we are going to start from August. It's not the question of whether you want to start from August or whether you want to start from September or even July. You must understand trekking is a group sport. The modern trekking, if you're especially going with an organization, it's a group sport. No matter how much of social distancing measure you put in your guidelines, no matter how much of precautions you can take, like one person will sleep in a tent or whatever it is, a group sport is a group sport. Somewhere or the other you will come in close proximity with others, and generally that happens when there's an emergency. We must stop assuming that trekking is always done in fair weather and in flatlands. There are ups, there are downs. Someone always needs a help. Someone needs if it is raining, and it can rain because we are in August and September, and these are the fag end of the rainy season. Snowfall may happen. I may have to quickly get you together and huddle you in one safe place. Then you cannot think of social distance. Even our staff, when they work together, they work in very close confinements. Maybe a staff has got infected somewhere, and he is working in close confinement with another staff, he also may get infected. And trekker may not be anywhere near them. You're talking about if I get a certificate of COVID certificate from a town 72 hours before my journey. You may, but you must keep in mind that you are doing a series of transport from plane to train to bus, maybe a confined vehicle. All of them will make you come in contact with others, sometime or the other. You cannot just go isolated. You are traveling through big cities and other crowded places, and there are chances of infections. You don't know who you are meeting. So all of these factors put together make me say that I am not going to say whether you can start in August or whether you can start in September. I am only going to say, unless this COVID infections in our country come down to around that 50 mark in the top metro cities of our country, and that's only when you can start thinking of trekking. And when it eventually goes down to around the 20 and less than that is when you actually can start moving around, when transport is going to come without any fear. So transport without fear is the crucial aspect of trekking opening up in a country.
Okay, so if you have to put a time frame to it, when do you think we can start trekking? I think I should rephrase, when do you think we can start trekking safely if we have to put a timeline to it?
See, trekking is all about safety, not only safety of the trekkers. I think we're ignoring the safety of the people in the mountains. They matter also. So when you see the safety of trekkers, when you see the safety of mountain folks and everybody else associated with this industry, I think it's still some time away. Though a lot of people are wanting to open up trekking as soon as possible, there's a lot of pressure on us to open trekking very soon. I still see a couple of months away. And if you ask me, my mental picture would be round about Diwali is when we can think of starting trekking again. Because look around you, all the metro cities are still at the peak and they haven't even flattened anywhere. Maybe a little bit of hints here and there we are getting, but still they're on the top, over 1,000 infections a day. 1,000 infections a day takes at least a month and a half for it to even come down to something which is less than 100. Maybe 2 months, depending on how that city is coping with this kind of a situation. So that very safely makes me tell that maybe around the Diwali is when we can look to restart trekking. But it is not really Diwali which matters. That figure that I told you about, it has to come down to around 50. And when you can start thinking, that signals you will get it on your own. That's when you can start trekking. It may, if it comes before Diwali, I think we have been very lucky. If it comes around Diwali, then it's expected. Maybe it will be later than Diwali because there's a lot of uncertainty around this COVID virus. We have seen suddenly, things have been lull and things have gone up and things have settled and again there has been a peak. So we really cannot say, but that figure that I've told you, that would be a figure to go with.
Okay, I think that's pretty reassuring in terms of when to expect to go to the mountains again. So meanwhile, what would you advise trekkers to do right now? Because the mountains are not accessible to them right now, but from their hometowns, what advice do you have for them?
I think if trekkers want to trek, I don't think anything must stop them from trekking. Himalayan treks may be a little out of their hands at this stage, but if they are able to move about freely in their own state and there isn't any lockdown or any restrictions, then they must do local treks. Because now this is the season to trek. Monsoon is here, there's lush green around you and it's beautiful weather. So there is nothing stopping you from trekking, and I would very strongly advise people to trek. Because nothing gives you a good balance of mind at this stage when we are all in this crisis than a trek. Nothing heals the mind, body and spirit than a trek does. So just go ahead with you or with very close friends who you can consider very safe and do a day trek and come back. And that will really revive you more than anything else can. In fact, even in our office, we went for a very quick day trek a few days ago when we had that brief period we were open. And believe me, that was one of the best things that had happened to everybody because we had just spent 2-3 months under a very strict work from home situation. So yeah, you can do that and you must do it. And that will be the best thing for people.
Thanks a lot, Arjun. I think that's some very sound advice for all our trekkers. Thank you for coming on the show and clarifying all of this for us. I think that resolved a lot of doubts. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Swati, for calling me again.
So that was Arjun Majumdar, the founder of India Hikes. He threw some light on the situation in the mountains, on when it is actually safe to trek again in the Himalayas. Of course, we're keeping the safety not only of trekkers in mind, but also of the mountain folk. We don't want anybody to be suffering with any kind of coronavirus. So that is the situation right now. As Arjun said, we're likely to open up when the number of cases comes below 50, which could happen around Diwali or even after that. But that's what you have to keep in mind. Meanwhile, trek locally. We've been documenting lots of treks on our website in Karnataka and Maharashtra, even in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So go ahead and check those out. We have those in the description below. If you have any doubts about when we can restart trekking, drop in a comment. We'll get back to you. You can also write to me on tws@indiahikes.com. We'll be back with a lot more updates on our YouTube channel. So make sure you hit subscribe and the bell icon next to it. We also have daily updates on our Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. So follow us there and we'll be in touch with you. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Swati from India Hikes and you're watching Trek with Swati.